everyone's not cut out for this.
Not at all.
And you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to make it seem like everything.
No knock.
Yeah, we don't want to make it seem like everything is sweet, because it's not. Entrepreneurship is hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're complacent and you're comfortable with that job or whatever it is, because you know that paycheck's gonna come in. I mean, there's times where, you know, you may have a strong month, and then you might have 2 months that you didn't scratch the surface. You know what I mean? And you have to be able to fight through that. And, you know, we go through that. We go through that daily, not just monthly. We go through that. So, you know, it takes a different type of human being to be in entrepreneurship, to be an entrepreneur, period. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, we can keep the knowledge to ourselves. And I mean, I know people like that. Like, oh, I'm just, you know, I'm stingy when it comes to the knowledge.
Yeah, I used to be like that. I feel
exactly.
I used to be like, I don't really want to tell you what I'm doing.
But then it's like, but why though?
Yeah. I'm thinking them wealthy thoughts, baby. Everything about you. What's up?
Yo.
We back. Thank y'all for being with us again. Look, we love coming to you. I want to introduce myself. Again, this is Stephen Mitchell, a.k.a. StephenMotivate. I want to tell you what I'm focused on right now. I'm focused on helping part-time entrepreneurs generate full-time revenue. So that's one of my focuses. That's what we've been focused on here with my co-host, the all-time man of the hour, entrepreneur of entrepreneurs, Steve James. What's up, bro?
What's poppin', man?
Man.
We out here in Florida, man. This is cool how we can jump to place and you know, find some dope venues to host this thing, man. So it's cool being in a different vibe. We were in Vegas first, and now we're in Orlando. So
back in Orlando. Shout out to Florida, South Florida.
Yeah, it's dope.
Welcome back. This is the joint session, Wealthy Thoughts. And so, look, we just want to rap with y'all today about, you know, what is it like kind of being in our shoes? We talked about this a few episodes back about, you know, really we're kind of serial entrepreneurs, right? We talked about what we're doing. You know, I've got the Turo going. I've got a consumer product brand going. I've got the consulting going, building up the personal branding. You guys are watching this build live. Mm-hmm. And so, but what does it really mean to be a serial entrepreneur? Steve, tell them what you're doing again, just in case they forgot.
Man, so I'm in real estate, so doing a lot of flips and new construction. So really, kind of been focusing the energy into buying the lots and, you know, building ground up. Airbnb, got those in LA. Looking to venture out to different places on that. I have a printing company. Do silkscreen, embroidery, DTG, the whole nine. Studio, music studio. Man, it's just so much, bro. The cars, Turo, and you know, shoot, being a full-time dad and husband.
Right, man. Talk about that. That's a whole business in and of itself.
So yeah, man. So life is life is good. It's a blessing to wake up every day and to be able to be in this position, but at the same time, you know, it's daily hurdles that we have to you know, continuously jump over.
Yeah. Facts. And being a serial entrepreneur and being an entrepreneur, like we talked about last time, is not easy.
Yeah.
I think that's one myth that we want to dismantle. Does it have its rewards? Yes. Does it come with a lot of benefits? Yes. But being an entrepreneur, and on top of being an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, you know, it's not an easy thing. But we want to talk a little bit today about what does that mean? What does it mean to be a serial entrepreneur? And how do you know if we're talking to you or not? And so I think a lot of people get almost a bad connotation with serial entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
It's either like good or bad. It's like you either like, okay, the Elon Musk of the world who was with PayPal, he was with Tesla, he's got a, I think it was
SpaceX.
SpaceX. So this guy's doing a ton of things. What's the other guy? His name Richard Branson? The Virgin guy, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Records,
Yeah.
Virgin Airlines, Virgin
Mm-hmm.
Hotels, serial entrepreneurs. So it's like you either at the tippy top and you're, super successful at multiple things, or some people when they hear serial entrepreneur, they think, oh, this person doesn't finish anything.
Right.
This person is basically scatterbrain, doing a whole bunch of stuff, and doesn't complete anything.
Yeah. I mean, and that's it's people are like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of gurus, they'll tell you to plant one seed and water that thing and watch it grow, and then go on to the next one, because it's really hard to give something all of your time. But we're an example of that. You know what I mean? Like, even though, it's definitely hard. So there's no way possible to give 100% of everything that we're doing.
Right.
But the day and age of where we live in now is the importance of having systems in place.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, let's just talk about Airbnb and Turo. When it comes to those two things, the systems that we have put in place are allowing us to grow the business, but be outside of it, where we don't have to be so much hands-on. That's when you have your automation. So, for the Airbnb, like, I don't see my guests. It's a lockbox. I mean, it's a code that they put in. I give them that once they book. You give them the code. They put the code in, and they get the keys that way. So,
right,
I can have 100 doors. You know what I mean? I don't have to put the energy into that, but that's the importance of having systems in place.
Yeah,
because if you don't have a system in place, then it's hard to be a serial entrepreneur, because you're going to be, and that's how, I mean, it is like that for us. You know what I mean? In a sense, like when it comes to the cars is just more of a demanding thing compared to, Airbnbs.
Right.
Short-term arbitrage is totally two different things. You know what I mean? So, you may have to go do something with the cars. You may have to go get it maintenance. You may have to go, get the tire fixed. So, those are just two examples that I'm giving. But, the importance of having systems in place makes all the difference in the world.
And see, that's what I think that gets lost, like in serial entrepreneurship, is that, and in entrepreneurship in general, but like you said, it's really important in serial entrepreneurship is if you don't have a system that you can rely on, then that responsibility falls back on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing it, if you're not making the moves that need to be made with the business, then, eventually something probably is going to break or go wrong. Mm-hmm. That's just the way things go. Right. With business in general. Things do go wrong. And what helps is when you have a system in place. So if you're thinking out there, like to our audience, hey, I'm the type of person that's like, Steve. I like to do different things. I like to, experiment with different ideas and that sort of thing. But you're not focused on like also building a system, then there's a chance that you're going to not succeed as quickly as you'd like to.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you've got to be thinking about, okay, I want to start this new thing, but what system am I going to put in place that's going to help me keep it going?
And allow you to step away, because and we talked about this last time, like we have to get into the process of, once we learn something, like for the printing company that I have, at first I wanted to learn how to do the silk screen. So that was, all these systems, all these equipment. I'm like, I have to know how to use these things because once I bring somebody on, I have to be able to tell them if they don't know.
Right, right.
Now, the whole point of having a business is putting someone in that position who knows more than you. You know what I mean? So you want to hire someone that is smarter than you. You know what I mean? Like you can't be the smartest person in the business. You have to put people in place that know more than you or is willing to learn that thing, to be the master of that thing, so you can step away and go start something else.
Yeah, and we're learning that.
Yeah.
I think, would you agree with that?
Oh,
We're
yeah, for
learning
sure.
how to hire people.
For sure.
Because
and fire ourselves.
That's a major key. Like, learn how to hire people and fire yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what you have to understand about yourself. Some of us are such control freaks that we don't even know how to do that. And so it's a skill that a lot of entrepreneurs and people who've taken that first step, some of them aren't even thinking about it. Right. And then two of them, the second thing is like, people aren't even developing the skill on how to do it properly, because staffing and hiring people and leading people is completely different from just getting out there and starting it yourself.
For sure.
It's very difficult in and of itself to start a thing and do that thing and stick with it. But then how do you take your mind to that next level? And I think that's a great point that you bring up from a serial entrepreneurship standpoint. One thing that we're always trying to learn is, what new skills do we need to develop in order to continue to grow our things and help them succeed. And hiring others and firing yourself is definitely a major skill.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing I'd add to that is, you can always tell when someone has, when they have become complacent, or their business has become complacent, in a sense that they're just so comfortable doing everything themselves.
Right.
That they've kind of hit that plateau of growth.
Yeah, yeah, and we see that more times than none. Like, because people are, like you said, when you have something, that's your baby. So when you start something, it's like, oh, this is my baby. Like, this is my thing. But I think when you, when you nurture something so long, it's just like, it's like our kids. Like, we nurture them, but once they get to a certain age, it's like, we got to let you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So like, I look at business the same way. It's like, okay, we want to learn this. We want to learn our child. Like, our child, your child, when they come into the world, they're a stranger. You know what I mean? So you're learning their ways. Like, we're learning like sleep patterns. We're learning all of these things. Like, all of this is, I look at that as business. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing. So when you start a business, like, okay, I need to learn this, and then I need to, okay, now I can hire someone to be in this position, whether that's a teacher or a nanny. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's the same thing, but it's, it's just important to, you have to know your business to grow your business. I always say that, just because starting something, it can crumble quick. Like, if you're in a situation and you don't put the systems in place, like, it's easy for something to crumble. And the biggest key to take from this is, allow yourself to master that thing that you're doing, and then bring someone else in and give them that platform to be able to run that thing that whatever it is that you're trying to build and grow. Because at the end of the day, it's scalability.
Yeah. Can you scale this thing and take it to the next level? And one thing I want to say, like, because we talked about this in one of our previous episodes, is like, so many people are afraid to start. So and I think we would agree on this. We want you to start.
Right.
But at the same time, like, once you've gotten started, like, if you really want to learn from people that are doing multiple things, you also have to know when to shift to that next moment in the business. And the timing on that is not something that I can just tell people, okay, do it when this happens, or doing it. I feel like that timing is really something you got to kind of know in your gut,
for sure.
Your instinct to say, okay, and that's with everything. because, and I'll even take a step back and say, I've had many businesses that have failed,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this helps inform what I do today. And now I'm in my mid 30s, and my businesses are doing a lot better than they were when I was in my mid 20s, and I had businesses going. Not to say they all failed, but some of them did. And the timing piece is probably, I think, something in my earlier years that I was always trying to find the perfect timing instead of really trusting my gut and my instinct on timing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the systems part, so I don't want anybody to walk away and say, man, I don't want to start my business until I have a full flushed out system on everything. No, I don't think you have to have it 100% flushed out. I think you can have it 80% ready, go get started, and then just keep it in mind to say, okay, we need to improve, because you cannot improve a thing if that's not started.
Yeah. And that, I mean, we talk about this all the time.
Right.
Like it's getting started, because the best learning curve is experience.
Yeah.
So if you're, whatever that thing is that you're trying to do, if you're not in it, you won't know, because I can tell you a whole bunch of stuff when it comes to the Airbnb and Turo, but until you actually get in there and face that thing, it's totally different. And you have to be able to, like I said, put that first foot forward and jump into that thing, and then things are gonna come, but you won't see it. You won't see it playing on the bench.
Right.
You won't see it playing on the outskirts. You gotta get in the game and get active.
That's the perfect example, because a coach can't really help you with your shot until they see you shooting.
Right.
Right. Yep. You got to be out there putting up shots to improve. And I know everyone learns differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that this may not apply to everyone, but for those where this resonates with you, then I encourage you to go. It don't resonate with everybody, because everybody just can't go. They just aren't built that way.
Mm-hmm.
But for those that are have the appetite for risk to start putting up shots, go, because once you start putting them up, okay, do this, change it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think for a serial entrepreneur, the thing that for us is that you just have to be able to survive long enough to get to the improvements.
To improvements, yeah. Yeah.
Because it might crumble before that, but it might not. I mean, that's sort of the risky thing about business.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Talk about how you handle risk and your appetite for it. How do you just say, okay, I'm about to go put, I don't know, 5 figures down on a piece of real estate, because I believe this is going to happen in the future.
Yeah. I think for me, man, my risk tolerance is through the roof. And that's just because, I've been in a lot of things, and, a lot of things didn't work out, so once a person who's never taken a risk before, I mean, because there's people out there that's never taken a risk. They've never felt that, because it's different. Once you take that first loss or whatever it is, your skin eventually, you know what I mean? It gets tough. And it's like, you know what? That hurt, but I know what I did to cause that. And now going forward, this is what I need to tweak for that not to happen again. So I think the risk, I mean, no one succeeds without taking a risk.
Facts.
And that is it's just what it is. So if you're playing on the sidelines and you're not taking no risk, then don't complain about,
you're capping your success.
Yeah, don't complain about when stuff's not coming your way, because you have to take risks. If you're thinking about that thing, do the research on it and do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now, we're not telling you to go do dumb stuff. If you don't have the funds, then don't go spend your last on, you know what I mean? If that's going to put you in a financial, deficit, you don't want to be in that type of situation. But if there's a proper way to go about it, and you do have the funds, and you're like, should I wait? Same thing with houses. Like, people are in that situation right now because of the rates, the interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, oh, well, the rates are going to go down eventually. Then the housing market is going to crash. Like, there's a lot of that going. But while you're having that debate, these people over here is like, oh, okay, we want that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a opposite. And I'm in that situation right now. I'm actively buying plots of land and properties to flip.
And how does it feel? How does it feel knowing that there's a group of people saying that, we're having another huge recession. Housing prices is going to crash and things is going to go bottom out and it's going to be the biggest Great Depression. Like, how does it feel knowing that you're actively buying in this environment?
I mean, I look at it as people are never going to stop buying homes. It's just what it is. People are never going to stop traveling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the short-term arbitrage game it's needed. It's a necessity. It's like food and water. You need lounging. You know what I mean? You need housing. People need to be put up in, you got to think there's so many traveling nurses and people that travel that need houses.
Right.
They need housing.
Right.
So they're not going to, put themselves in a situation where they're going to be without.
Right.
So finding a place, and I just look at it as people are going to be buying homes. There's still money that's floating around.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So to get caught up in that, the interest rate, I don't care about that.
Right.
Like, I'm not looking at, I honestly don't. Like, because at the end of the day, the interest rate still will drop.
I think that's important that you saying that, because a lot of us get confused by macro economic events.
Yeah.
And when I say macro, I mean, some of these statistics about interest rates going and what people going to do, that really applies to huge businesses,
right,
that serve millions of customers a week.
Yeah.
Okay, they want to know that, instead of serving 20 million this week, I'm only going to be able to serve 14 million. Right? That matters to them. Yeah. But for us, that's on a way smaller scale.
We're talking about, like, if you're the FHA loan is normally 3.5. I talked to my credit union. They're like, oh yeah, we can get you in for 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, I mean, of course that you may have to put a couple extra down, but in the whole grand scheme of things, it's not, it shouldn't deter you from moving.
Right. Because, and you have to think about what you're doing it for. When people talk about interest rates, they get so nervous because they're thinking that if you play an interest rate out all the way to the end of the loan, then you've paid a lot more. Right. But who's doing that?
No one's doing that.
Especially if you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's say you do buy a house and you do a 30-year loan, 30-year. Mm-hmm. The whole point of it is to get that low interest rate. So let's say even if you did a 3.5, you do a 30-year loan, then okay, you pay an extra on it to knock that down to 15 years.
Yep.
But you still have the lower interest rate.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, so the rates will go up now. So it's like, okay, let's play the refinance game. So interest rates is 6% now. Let's say they go up to 7. Now, once that rate goes down, now you can refinance. Now you're saving more money. And because the rate is going to eventually go down.
Right.
But if you wait, you're not in the game. Get in the game, refinance. Like, when I learned the refinancing, like, play, and that's with anything. That's with cars. That's with housing. Yep. Like, that play alone is so crucial. And people get scared of, that thing. And it's just like, no, you just got to get started. Yep. You know what I mean? You just got to, if you're looking for a house right now, and if you have the funds, buy it. Because you can always refi as soon as that rate.
So I was so scared to buy. I remember when I first moved to Charlotte, I was so scared to buy because I was like, I don't know how long I'm going to stay here. I don't know if I'm going to be here long enough. And I see at that time, there was houses for like $175,000, $200,000 for nice size cribs. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, now you go in Charlotte, cribs, I don't know what the average is, but I know that there are cribs now that are like 600,000. Mm-hmm. But because I was hesitant, and I said this before, he who hesitates is last. Mm-hmm. It's like that hesitation, really, you got to look at what is it really based off of?
Right.
To your point, like everybody's talking all this noise. Like, what are you really, like, and when we talked about this last time, the toxic timeline, the toxic timeline that you have, what is it making you feel?
Right.
Is it encouraging you to take risks, or is it making you all scared and fearful inside? Like, oh, maybe I should just go in the house and sit in the closet and make sure I don't get into any accidents. I don't get into any danger. I don't get, that's what you got to watch. Just because fear sells don't mean it's that scary out here.
Right.
Right? It's not as scary as you might think. But as we said, if you don't have an appetite for risk, you're not going to move, and you're not going to get the benefits. So it's fine. Don't move if you don't want the benefits. But if you want the benefits, then you got to make a move. Mm-hmm. And what we're telling you is, in doing this, and you even said this, the loss really ain't that bad, and you almost need one just so you can realize, that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah, for sure. You have to be able to. You're going to take losses. That's part of it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I don't even call them losses. I call them lessons.
Right. Facts.
You know what I mean? Because now it hurts. It stings. You know what I mean? But now like, okay, I endured that. I can do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not everyone's not cut out for this.
Not at all.
And you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to make it seem like everything.
No,
yeah, we don't want to make it seem like everything is sweet, because it's not. Entrepreneurship is hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're complacent and you're comfortable with that job or whatever it is, because you know that paycheck's going to come in. I mean, there's times where, you may have a strong month, and then you might have 2 months that you didn't scratch the surface. You know what I mean? And you have to be able to fight through that. And, we go through that. We go through that daily, not just monthly. We go through that. So, it takes a different type of human being to be in entrepreneurship, to be an entrepreneur, period. You know what I mean? And it's no better feeling knowing that you are growing something. Mm. That's what I like the most about entrepreneurship. It's like, okay, I have this thing. Let me perfect it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let me let me nurture it. Let me figure out the ins and outs of how this thing works. And, I get a rush out of that. I like starting something, and I like to see it succeed. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like losing. I don't like failure. You know what I mean? Like, I like to win. So, I approach business in the same aspect.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think that's what people can take is that, look, if you are a person that one likes to start stuff, that gets bored easy with certain situations. Look, all right, I got that going. I want to get. You might be a serial entrepreneur. You might have that in your bones. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, it has to be nurtured. Right. You have to continue down that vein, knowing. And here's the hope. Here's the hope is that one, it probably will get better if you stick it out. There's times, you have to think about, I think Steve Harvey said this, you have to think about all the times you've overcome bad days for you to realize that, most of my days end up being good. Like, I mostly get over whatever I challenge myself with. And this is another thing I think we should touch on is, like, you have to really value yourself, because it's not for everybody. But one reason it's not for everybody is because all of you out there listening don't value yourself enough to bet on yourself, to take a risk on yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, for some reason, the whole system that we've grown up in is like, I can't do that. I can't open another location, or I can't, get this started too. I can't invest $1,000 in the stock market. It's all this hesitation and all this sort of, but it's like, you really can. If you start to believe and bet on yourself, you're going to improve. For sure. Like we talked about, you're going to get better, but you got to get started to get better. Yep. And I hope a lot of people realize that, like, what are you doing out there that's causing you to not value yourself properly, to stop there? Because when it comes down to it, if you're not taking risks, a part of that is like, you must not really want to bet on yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, I like that. I'm going to bet on myself every single time. Like, because when you look at people that, that are above you, and I shouldn't even say above you, but are more on that successful, successful
ladder, plateau.
Yeah, it's like, because I look at it as someone just got there before you did.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what I mean? Like everyone's still a human being. Everybody has that fight in you, but it's just some people just happen to reach it before you did.
Yep.
Which doesn't mean nothing. Now, I mean, look at it as the pros. Like you have to go from high school to college and then to the pros. You know what I mean? So it's just levels to success.
Exactly.
And if you're not betting on yourself, if you don't have that self-talk, that self like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got to talk, you got to talk that talk.
You got to
like,
talk that talk to
I'm
yourself.
him. I'm that guy.
I'm that guy.
And that's just how you have to approach it. Like, you know what I mean? And people might call it, you have to be arrogant when you're an entrepreneur. You have to have that type of like chip on your shoulder where, and now it's a different type of arrogance. It's not like, oh, I'm better than you, but it's that arrogance as look what I did with this thing.
It's possible.
Yeah. You know
Why
what
would
I mean?
it not be?
Exactly. That's a different type of arrogance when it's arrogance when you tell somebody like, no, what I just did is possible. You've seen it. You know, people see the things that we're doing. People see it. We tell somebody like, look, we just bought 15 cars last year. We lasted a year.
Yeah.
Well, you've what, year and a half now?
Yeah, almost a year and a few months at least.
Yeah. So you're 12 months. So I've lasted a year in this thing. How was it tough? Of course it was.
Yes.
It was crazy. Like trying to figure out because we went so big so quick. You have no choice but to figure it out quickly.
Sink or swim.
Or it will crumble. Yeah. So when you do stuff like that, like the only attitude I can have is I'm him.
Yeah.
Because it's not normal to even do that.
Right.
So to think that it's like, okay, now if this thing doesn't work, how can I rearrange this thing to, I'm seeing the strong points, I'm seeing the weaknesses. Now, what can I do to improve it and make this thing grow even bigger?
Improve it or move it or lose it.
Yeah.
Like it's really those options. Improve it, move it, or lose it. Like, what do I need to do to adjust? Yeah. And the thing I think that happens with entrepreneurship that's so close to God is that it's a constant adjusting, a constant improving, a constant, how do I get better? How do I make my businesses better? And sometimes it's like, well, how do I get better?
Yeah.
Because if I would have did this, if I would have put this in place, if I would have did that, if I would have made that decision, then I would have got that opportunity, or I could have taken that guess, or, you know, there's certain things you realize, man, I'm a little too unorganized still. Yeah. I'm a little too, I need help.
Yeah.
I need people around me. I need to pay attention to the right things. I can't, you know, we was talking about this. Like, I can't, unfortunately, I still watch my TV and my shows, but I can't watch TV all day.
Yeah, no, you can't.
I don't think all this week I ain't even really watched TV.
Man, listen, the only thing that's on my television is baby shows.
Right.
Like all I'm hearing is la 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 la. I'll go to sleep hearing Elmo in my head. You know what I mean? So it's just different now because, and it's funny because I'm joking with my buddies. I'm like, bro, how do you watch these shows? Like I'll start a show and won't finish it. I'll watch a couple episodes. It's like, because shows is just moving. It's like the way life is set up right now. It's like, I feel like TV and, you know, it's certain things that are just distractions. You know what I mean? And it's like, if I'm trying to build this thing, there's no way I can binge watch this show right now.
Right.
I don't even have the capacity to do that, because if I do that, something might suffer on this end. And this thing right here is the thing that's providing for me and my family.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like there's these things that, and I feel like this is this is just another tangent, but getting those distractions out of the way, because like social media is a distraction.
Yeah.
And I find myself like I turn my notifications off, because, you know, like if you post something, to be able to look at your phone when you post something and then to constantly see people like, oh, the likes, like it's something that is controlling us.
Yeah.
When it comes to this phone is a distraction.
Yeah. It's 100%.
And it's so crazy because you can catch yourself like, man, I done been on this app for, You know what I mean? An hour
Hour.
or just
45
scrolling.
minutes, 2 hours. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like as an entrepreneur, as a human that's working on self, like you have to learn how to turn those distractions off. And I feel like that's the most important thing about working on yourself is knowing the things that's crippling you.
That's big.
Because once I know that this thing is once I know that social media is crippling me, then I need to either delete that app off of my phone, turn my notifications off, or put myself on, okay, I'm only going to check at this time. Now, of course, it's harder when you're running a business because those notifications are important. You know what I mean? Like it might be someone that's inquiring about a whip.
Right.
You can't go hours of, you know what I mean? So it's a gift. Yeah, it's a gift or curse of that.
But your overall point is valid because we let a lot of distractions deter us from our destiny.
Definitely.
Period. And we literally have the same 24 hours. So the problem is only when people want more, but don't want to put in the work to get more.
Yeah.
And it's not, one of my mentors is very adamant about not over grinding and not, because some of that becomes unhealthy too.
Right.
Like we need to
sleeping.
Right. Not sleeping, and I think it's an ebb and flow. There are some days where I work, 12 hours plus, but there's also days where I sleep in for 3 to 4 hours. So there's an ebb and flow. And with us, we got families, we've got wives, we've got extended families, brothers, sisters. We got people we got to connect with. So it is a balancing act, and we have to learn how not to be too overindulgent, absorbing in any one area.
Yeah.
But in general, that little bit of extra time you have is key, right? And so, do you spend it being distracted, or do you spend it getting better or improving your business or figuring out what the pivot is or what the next move is?
Yep. And
that's something I think we all, as entrepreneurs, especially those who want to be serial entrepreneurs, you have to be very conscious of. It's like, oh, I'm complaining about this on one end, but I'm also distracted.
Yeah.
And I'm wasting a lot of my day and time just in distraction and that's the other thing. You don't have as much time as you think you have on Earth in any way.
Yeah.
Somebody
21. Yeah. We sent that with 21 Savage. He kind of broke it down.
Which I never knew that.
He broke the numbers down. Like, look, you spend this amount. I mean, because people say, oh, you have 24 hours in a day. No, you don't.
Right.
It's not 24 hours in a day because you already slept 7 or 8 of those.
Right.
You know what I mean? Exactly. And then you're going to bed at a certain time. You're not working a full 24 hours.
Right.
Now this determines what time you get up.
Yep.
And that's why, like, being on the West Coast time and, of course, having kids is different. So, I'm up at 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So 6 is 9 a.m. I know people on the East Coast time, they not getting up to 10.
Right.
So it's like you have, and it's weird with the time difference because I feel better when I'm up early and I'm more productive then because now it's like, okay, I'm up with the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like with the West Coast time, like if you sleep in to 8, 9 o'clock, y'all day are already over on the East Coast. Y'all at lunch right now.
About to go to
You know what I mean? You about to, at 4 or 5 hours, you off.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we just getting the day started. So I like to jumpstart and be up with the rest of the world because I feel like I'm behind if I'm not.
Yeah, yeah. And that's important. Like how you manage your day, how you manage your time, how you manage what you invest in, what you invest your attention in, because everything wants our attention to the point about distractions, to the point about, how do I find the time to improve?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that I think we want to help folks with as we give out this free game, free content is like, you got to find the time to improve, but you also got to find the people to improve with. And let's just be honest, some people are behind. You're never really behind because it's your own course, but in a sense that you could be further than where you are today. It's like, how do you catch up with some of that? And some of that, you're going to need a coach. Yeah, you're going to need a mentor. You're going to need to listen to the right things, and you're going to need to get around the right environments. And hopefully that's one reason we're doing this, y'all, is that we want people to some of you don't have these environments.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anybody talking this talk to you.
Yeah.
You don't have anybody telling you, no, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can take a risk.
Yeah.
You can do more than what you've seen others around you do.
Yeah.
You just got to see and be exposed to people that are doing it.
Yeah.
You can go get 15 cars. I know it sounds crazy and you don't have to, but it's a possibility for you.
Yeah.
And that's something that, look, we are the example of that. Mm-hmm. So what can we do? How can we help you to continue around that mindset? One way is to put out these podcasts. So you know that there's other people, and we want you to reach out. While we still can be reached, reach out to us, connect with us, follow us, subscribe, like the videos, share them, so we can build a community of people that's trying to and going to get it, because we them dudes.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. Nah, but like you said, get in the room, get around like-minded people, because that changed my life. You know what I mean? Like being in that environment where other people are doing things. Because if you hanging around people that don't have nothing going, like you have nothing to look up to. Right. And the only thing that you looking up to is the stuff that's on this phone. And a lot of this is fluff.
Fluffy.
So it's like, if you're not around the genuine people that's actually really doing it, it's going to be tough to see the light at the end of the tunnel, because you're not surrounded by, you're not even looking up to the right. You looking up to people who get on this phone and do something real quick, and then
some of them ain't even
nothing.
Ain't even happy with their lives.
Yeah.
But see, and this one thing about the fluff that I respect. One thing about the fluff that I respect is some of these guys are fluffing just to trick you into investing or believing in yourself. Mm-hmm. They making you think that entrepreneurship is easy, because if they don't, you're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Right? You almost have to be, mind tricked and psychologically into being like, oh, I can do it, just so you would do something. But the only problem I do have with that is that we know, living this out in real life and in real existence, that you've got to be around genuine people, and you need a strong community that will care about you as the person and you as the business person. Mm-hmm. Because if not only will your business crumble, but you can crumble. Yeah. And that's something you don't want. And I want to bring this point in too. And I always try to bring this up now, is like the faith muscle. Some of us, the faith muscle, some of us have grown up with like faith and God and belief and stuff like that. And it's like, I think people fall into two areas. It's like, either you have faith and you ain't doing nothing, or you doing a bunch of stuff and you don't really have faith. And it's like, I wish those two things could be married, because God can help you with some of your business endeavors. Mm-hmm. Like, if you get him involved, he can help you with that. And if you get off the couch and don't spend 100% of your time praying, you could probably go do something with your life where God would help you in that way. Like, so bring God into your situation as well. Like, talk about that. Talk about how faith is important to your situations that you got going on in general.
I think that, just growing up, with our parents, like, we grew up the same way. Like, both of our parents in the household, we stayed in church. We stayed prayed up. And I think as an adult, sometimes we stray away from that just because we don't have that foundation of the home anymore. Right. And that's because now we are parents.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
and
now
our parents was super strict.
Yeah. So now we're dealing with, the things that our parents dealt with as raising us. So, I definitely think just, having that strong faith, praying things out, because I find myself in this, and even just the music, you know what I mean? Like, there's times, like, even the song that you sent me, the When I Pray, she's up for a Grammy, by the way.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
She deserves one.
But like, I listen to that song so much, because sometimes, like, the music affects your mood. The music affects how you're moving, how things is like, if things is not going right, it's because the music that we're putting in it's like, oh, I got to turn this. I can't listen to this all day.
Right.
I can't listen to all of that all day. Like, I have to shift that. And I think having that balance is, especially as an artist, right? Because it's like, as an artist, I'm listening to so much different genres and everything. Sometimes you got to go back to that, that stuff that's going to uplift you.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I think that, really to close this thing out, like I feel like, the most important thing is, like we said, getting in a room, having that strong faith that you can do this. If the next person can do it, you can do it. You just have to have that desire in your heart to say, all right, this is what I'm doing. I'm putting my head down and I'm getting to it.
Yeah.
Like once you approach whatever it is like that, and just like on the last podcast, we talked about sports, like just having that competitive nature.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just know, like, when it comes to this, like, you have to constantly work on your skills.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be the best at what you're doing, you got to constantly work on that thing to make it grow.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. And you got to constantly put the right stuff. Hopefully this podcast is resonating with you mentally and in your spirit to be like, this is the right stuff. Yeah. This is the stuff I need to hear. And we've gotten calls. We've had people call us and say, like, keep doing this. So that's one reason we staying on it, because look, there is money, making money is great. But being able to help somebody else is even greater. Like, we want both. Let's be clear, but being able to help somebody else to see what's possible for them is so impactful. So I'm hoping that when you're listening to these, that you're saying, man, wow, there's more possible for me. Yeah. And it ain't got to happen tomorrow. It ain't got to happen the next day. But as long as you start getting that in your heart and in your mind to say, more is possible for me. Maybe I'm selling myself a little bit too short. Maybe I can do more than one thing. So what is it like to be a serial entrepreneur? That's what today's episode is all about. Like, you're seeing and hearing from us, like, this is what it's like. Yeah. We taking risks. We learning how to start. We getting better and improving. We learning how to fire ourselves and hire other people. It's a lot of skill development, but in that, there's a lot of improvement that's happening with us as people. Yeah. And so while we're improving, we hoping you're improving too. So look, it's the joint session.
For sure.
Follow us, subscribe.
This was good. This was good stuff.
Wealthy Thoughts, baby. Keep following us. You're going to see more and more coming from us, and connect with us. Follow us. Links and information, all that will be in the show notes. And look, we wishing y'all much and much success.
Yes, sir.
Until next time.
Peace.
Peace. I'm thinking them wealthy thoughts, baby.